Welcome. This is the story of Patrick J Reilly's decision to leave his hometown of Moynalty, Ireland, and risk it all to move to Toronto, Canada on February 4th, 1957. 67 years later, my father, Patrick Reilly, at the age of 93, returns to his hometown to retell the story that forever changed his life and forever impact future generations that follow.
You were in there.
All right, welcome to Historical Selfie, and here I am in Ireland. So this is my farthest away from the Hudson River Valley video, and this is on the land where my dad grew up. My dad was born in 1931. In fact, when my dad was born, all the citizens of Ireland still had to pledge their allegiance to England and the United Kingdom. So a lot's changed here in Ireland in the last 100 years or so, but some things haven't changed. So the grass is still very green, and this is wonderful farmland that I'll show you today. Behind me is the Uddineal Primary School. So this was the school that students attended at an early age, and they learned the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic. And today it's a shop, but back in the day, this was the old school, and it consisted of one long room. It's been replaced by the Uddineal School. The new school is up around the bend. My dad is the oldest sibling in the Reilly family, and there weren't a lot of opportunities in Ireland at the time. So at the age of 22, he heard from friends there was opportunities in Canada, and he took the boat to Canada, and he left here after the party on February 1st, 1957. So they had a goodbye celebration for him.
And this was the office here on the left. Yeah, it's very nice inside. Now, is this the original hall?
It is. That's the exact same floor that you danced on.
Yeah, it was famous for its floor.
Yeah.
Yes, so that was the stage.
Yeah.
We had concerts there. I
Yeah.
acted on that
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah.
In this hall, the Gaelic language is taught, as well as Irish step dancing. So there's ways to keep the heritage going of language, music, and dance. So we're gonna walk in my dad's footsteps. This would have been a dirt road back in the day, and occasionally a car, but that was very infrequent. Usually it was horse and carriage, or what they call traps, that would be going up and down the road. Behind me is some of the farms of my grandfather, Mick O'Reilly. So I learned that my dad was the first Reilly, that they dropped the O in O'Reilly when my dad was born, and the priest christened him, and there's a lot of Reillys and O'Reillys, so the priests called my dad Patrick Reilly rather than Patrick O'Reilly. On this farm, my dad would pick turnips as the vegetables, and they would also have cattle that would graze here on the lands. So Ireland is a country where you drive on the left side of the road. So welcome to my father's childhood home here in Carrick Spring, which is right next to Uddineal. And this is where he's the oldest of 7 children who were born here to my grandparents. And this is their childhood farm, and the farm is still in the family, so we'll have a look around. So behind me is the family barn where the cattle were brought in, and it could be used for milking cows. They had milking cows here, and then also they raised cattle for beef. This is also where the cattle would stay in during the winter months. So from basically December through March, the cattle are going to be well fed, well taken care of right here. And then in the spring and summer months, they're out grazing out in the land. So a lot's changed here on the farm in the past 100 years here in Ireland, but also much still remains the same. So there's still a lot of traditions and stories that get passed on to this generation and hopefully to future generations. So I learned on this trip that my aunt, when she was about 4 years old, painted ER for Eileen Reilly on the side of the wall. She doesn't quite remember doing this, but now at the age of 82, she's still quite the artist. So my dad was 22. He's heard stories of adventures in Canada, and living in a small town such as Moynalty, a boy might want to kind of see the world, and Canada offered that opportunity. So it must have been difficult to say goodbye to his family, to his parents, but at the age of 22, my dad decided to head off to Canada and seek new opportunities and adventures. So when my dad left for Canada, most probably thought he would never come back, and there must have been a lot of sadness when you leave your hometown, but there's also the excitement of the opportunities that lie ahead. So this is a story of immigration, but also remembering where you come from and never forgetting about the past.
T and more tea.
Ireland is a country that combines natural scenery with a rich and complex history, and nowhere is this better demonstrated than the country's cemeteries. Each family plot tells a story of loved ones who are gone but never forgotten.
So for people leaving Ireland, one of the stops before they left would be to place some flowers at the family site to pay their respects for the lives that came before them. So here's my dad's family plot here.
Doing my job, so
All right, and you've worked here at the cemetery, or?
I'm a retired man. I'm just doing this voluntary. So.
Okay.
So I want to say hello to Patrick. Hi to Patrick. He worked with my father, Terry and Evan.
So I'm about 2 miles or 3 kilometers from Uddy and now I've entered into the village of Moynalty. So upon entering Moynalty, you'll notice they are the winner of the Tidy Town, something they're very proud of, something almost every resident will kind of mention in there as a humble brag. So welcome to Moynalty, Tidy Town 2023. I don't know what happened in 2024, but I'm sure they'll get it back in 2025. All right, so the next stop for my dad on his way out would definitely be to stop in the church here. So this is the Catholic church where he was baptized, and it's still standing. So let's go inside. And
The Catholic faith is at the center to many in the town of Moynalty and elsewhere in Ireland.
So behind me is the bell tower, and this was where they would ring the bell at 12 noon, and then my grandparents would run to the clock to make sure that their clock was set for 12 o'clock. So everything kind of revolved around when this bell was rung. And according to my dad, sometimes he wasn't always at his post, and he might ring it a little bit later. So it was a simpler time back then, and all you had was the clock for everyone to set their watches by.
The Moynalty house was built around 1825 by John Farrell. The Farrells were a successful Catholic family of brewers and moneylenders in 19th century Dublin. After lifting restrictions on Catholics owning land, James bought Moynalty.
So behind me is the Farrell house, and it was owned by John Farrell back in the 1730s. He owned all the land here and built himself a big mansion. So he was sort of the bigwig in the town of Moynalty back then, and the family owned all the land around here. They were Catholic, but they were friendly with the Protestants, and that probably helped them keep them in good standing here. So when you're walking around here, you can kind of see how he probably planned out some of the walls and some of the town of Moynalty himself. And he also provided, the Farrell family provided some of the stained glass windows in the church that we just saw.
The archives of the Moynalty estate offer historians an exceptional look at the estate life in Meath in the 18th and 19th century. Landed estates such as the Farrells illustrate the enormous influence that their owners had across much of Ireland.
So behind me is the Farrell Gatehouse, which was used right before the birth of my dad, and then it became a residence. So we're right here in the town of Moynalty, and let's go have a look. In the last 20 years, Moynalty and Ireland have been known as the Celtic Tiger for its amount of economic development since it's joined the EU, and the modernization continues all the way to today. So high-speed internet wires have just been put in to make you able to work from anywhere in Moynalty and be productive. With high-speed internet, who knows, maybe my dad would never have left Moynalty. Behind me is the village grocery store known as Gertie's back in my dad's day, and he would have stopped in to get himself maybe some sweets and treats for the boat ride that lay ahead.
Hi Margaret, it's Geraldine.
All right.
We're friends on Facebook.
Hi Margaret, Brayden Finnegan here.
Very good. And you're the new owner, right?
Yeah.
And it used to be called Gertie's?
Still
Oh, still, okay.
yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Today, the village of Moynalty is home to about 150 residents, and the buildings would look very similar to what my dad saw back in 1957. The village hosts the annual Moynalty Steam Threshing Festival, held every August since 1975.
Something that was not here when my dad was leaving was the Moynalty Threshing Museum. So every year they have a steam threshing competition, and has something to do with baling hay and turning it into piles of hay. So I'm not exactly sure what steam threshing is. Did a little bit of research online, but it just looked kind of like our equivalent in America to a country fair. So that happens every August, and there's also a nice museum as well. So next time you're in Moynalty, make sure you check out the Steam Engine Threshing Museum to get a little glimpse of what life was like back in my dad's day. So as my dad left for Canada, he would have stopped in here to the pub. There was 2 pubs back in his day. Now there's only 1. And he would have had himself a pint of Guinness, and they would have toasted him farewell and good luck on his new adventure.
I'm May and you were in January.
That's right.
That's right, I know.
Yeah, that's right.
Our week in Ireland allowed my dad to reconnect with his old friends and family. For my dad, it was also a chance to tell the stories of those who have gone before him, so that their place in Moynalty history will always be remembered. It is for us to preserve their stories and keep history alive. By going to the places of my dad's past, it fills me with great gratitude and a better sense of who I am and where I came from. May my dad's vitality for life offer inspiration for us all. Thanks, Pops. All to one side, Moynalty. So on February 4th, 1957, Patrick Reilly may have left Moynalty, but it was always close to his heart, as was a red-haired Irish girl from Carnaross named Margaret Muldoon. But that is a story for another day.
So it's time for us to get back home to America, but this has been very informative and really nice to get back to your roots and see where it all started. So thanks, Dad, for sharing the memories, and really enjoyed our stay here in Ireland this week. And to everyone at home, keep living history. Stay tidy, Moynalty.